Yeah, also when y'all go to college, I would keep an eye out for deals on Microsoft Office, because once you like purchase it once or whatever and you have the code associated with your account, you can install it on all of your like various machines moving forward. I still use the same copy of I posted the video to Classroom so you can check it out. I'm using the same copy of Microsoft Office 2013 that I bought my senior year of college, just because I tied it to my personal email. So it was like 20 bucks back then. That license is like $110 now. It's just a nice thing to have, especially because freaking the new Microsoft Office 365, they're not selling licenses. They want you to pay for it on a yearly subscription. It's way better to just get a one-time license for the offline version and just have it for the rest of forever on all your devices, you know? Okay, so how to do the exponential regression, that link is on the Classroom wall. And of course, you know, you could just Google it, but pass out, are there any other questions about the lab? No, okay. Then the rest of this time is yours. And feel free to work on the multiple choice on College Board Classroom. Though again, full disclosure, like those questions can't appear on the actual AP test, just because on the actual AP test, there will be no multiple choice. But after like looking over the questions myself, I thought they were still good, appropriate exercises. And as y'all work on that live test session, if you have any questions, just holler at me. I'd be glad to work out any of the questions on my document cam.
Okay.
And I posted to Classroom a video, which is how I found out about that logarithmic scale representation of the COVID-19 outbreaks. That's like excellent work in my opinion to the dude who made that. The thing that a lot of people are concerned with right now is typically, well, when is this going to be over, right? How long is it until life gets back to some version of normal? That's a really hard thing to tell with exponential growth when the tipping point is, simply because, like I said, the human brain just has a hard time grappling with the growth of exponential systems. Minute Physics, one of my favorite science YouTube channels, did a video on how to tell when we hit that turning point and how you should properly think about it. It's a good video, so I posted that to Classroom along with the links to the raw data from Johns Hopkins and that same graph, so that you can like look at it, and it has a couple different toggles that you can play with to see different representations of the same data set. And I guess it's just like a meme or whatever of kids always being like, when are we ever going to use this? For every student who is alive right now and remembers this stuff, I think it'll be really easy for the next few years to answer that question when pre-cal teachers get to exponentials and logarithms of why it was important to understand this stuff. Jack, you had a question?
Yeah, so the videos we have to watch for the AP College Board is the rotational kinematics and torque and equilibrium, right?
Yeah, just those first two. Yeah.
Is this gonna go in as a homework grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
The video review?
No, this AP College Board.
Oh yeah, this is gonna go in as a homework, yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I'm just waiting for y'all to ask some questions if you have them.
Yeah, can we do number 8, please?
Sure.
AP.
So this is the one with the graph, right?
Yeah.
A student attaches a 0.6 kilogram block to a vertical spring so that the block spring system will oscillate if the block spring system is released from rest at a vertical position that is not the system's equilibrium. The student measures the velocity of the block as a function of time as it oscillates, shown in the graph. The spring constant of this spring is most nearly what? So, interesting graph, I guess, except none of the information on the graph is actually useful to us. So it doesn't matter that the velocity is some number or whatever, that it's oscillating between plus or minus 1/2. That's neat, but there's only actually one value that we need to pull from the graph. What is that value?
Kilograms, isn't it? F equals kx though.
So sure, and that equation, while true, F is equal to negative kx, won't give you the answer. It couldn't. It requires information that you can't get. Especially because this graph doesn't have the displacement. This isn't a graph of position versus time. This is the graph of velocity versus time.
Wait, do you take time?
Yeah, you have to take the period. So if you look at the graph, all we actually need from this graph itself is the amount of time that it takes to do one complete cycle. So from a top to a top, from a bottom to a bottom, or starting from 0 and going through a full wave, a full up part and a down part. So how much time does it take to go from top to top?
Is that 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it starts at the peak amplitude, and then it drops to 0, and then it goes back up to the peak, and that number is exactly in between 2 and 4, so it has to be 3. So that is to say that the period is equal to 3 seconds. And then past here, we're just going to use the period equation for a spring mass oscillator because that equation only has 3 terms in it. These are 2 of the 3. So what is the period of a spring mass oscillator? Period is going to be equal to?
2 pi, is it that one?
2 pi root.
It's either k over m or m over k. I
Yeah, don't guess. Pull it off the AP equation sheet.
Okay.
Technically, you could also figure it out by comparing the units that you get if you do k over m or m over k. The one that gives you seconds squared in the numerator is the one that you want. Say again?
M over k.
Yep. And then from here, the rest is algebra. We're just being asked to solve for k and then plug and chug. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi. And I'm also going to square both sides in the same step so that this will be equal to m over k. So all I did was I divided over the 2 pi, then I hit both sides with a square to get rid of the square root. Now if I want k, I need to multiply both sides by k, which will give me the equation m equals, and then I need to divide both sides by this denominator so that I can get k alone again. So k is going to be equal to m divided by the quantity of t, or period, divided by 2 pi, quantity squared. Plugging and chugging those two numbers into this equation will give you what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Mr. Robinson,
Yep.
I have a question in the lab.
Hi, what's up?
Okay, so is amplitude and displacement basically the same?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you look at those graphs, you have literally 4 different trends, and there's only one of the trends for which amplitude and displacement are the same. So if I have position, velocity, acceleration, and force, here's what these graphs should look like. Position should be a cosine graph. Velocity should be a sine graph. Acceleration should be a negative cosine graph. And then acceleration and force are going to be the same graph because F is equal to ma. The only difference is that this will be a little bit taller or shorter because it'll have to be scaled by m, but it will also be a negative cosine graph. So for all of these, technically, since they're all waveforms, all of them have an amplitude. They all have a height to the wave. But because of these terms having different units, what that height represents in each case is different. So here in the position graph, the amplitude is literally position, right? The height of the wave is telling you what position it's at. In the velocity graph, the velocity is the amplitude. So the height of the wave is telling you how fast it is. In the acceleration graph, the acceleration is the amplitude. So that is to say the height of the wave is telling you how big the force is that's pushing or pulling the motion. And then down here, the force graph is going to be the same thing. The force is equal to the amplitude. And so the force being applied by either the spring or by gravity is what the height of the wave is representing for this trend. But only for the position graph is the position also equal to the displacement. This equality is not true for these other terms simply because they have different units.
Okay. Thank
Is
you.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. excited because I'm going to go to a restaurant and pick up a box of vegetables, which I love that that's like a thing to now get excited about.
Food.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all knew, but if you're having a hard time getting particular goods at grocery stores, a bunch of local LA restaurants, since they have a supply chain set up that delivers fresh fruits and vegetables directly to the restaurants, right? And they also can't sell that stuff because restaurants can't serve food right now. If you look around either on like Instagram or Facebook, and look at those restaurants that you like, right, their pages, you'll find that a bunch of them have deals where you can do like, I don't know, 10 pre-made meals and little packaging plus a box of vegetables that they can't sell for like a really decent price with curbside pickup or whatever. I am so excited for fresh fruit. We haven't had fresh fruit I don't want to be a crybaby. We haven't had fresh fruit since Friday, but yo, I'm about to go get a fat box of like apples and oranges and celery.
Where are you getting it from?
I'm getting it from the same place that did the catering for my wedding. It's a place called Heirloom LA.
Sounds bougie.
It is, yeah. It's they own their own farms or whatever. But even though it is very bougie, it's actually not that expensive compared to like other restaurants or whatever. Heirloom LA doesn't have a sit-down restaurant. They only do mass catering. The one that I'll recommend is, y'all know Tender Greens?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Tender Greens. If you like Tender Greens is also doing grocery pickup. So you can order like a family worth of meals and then also add on to that order a box of vegetables or a box of fruits. And they also have a thing called a Good Morning box, I think, that comes with coffee beans, flour, milk, and eggs. So if like going to the grocery store has been annoying for you or your parents, check it out. It might be a solution to that problem. So instead of waiting at the grocery store and then opening up yourself to the risk of infection or whatever, you can order one of those boxes in advance and like pick it up at the curb so that you don't have to go inside.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it also has the added benefit of like it helps those restaurants remain in business in these hard times for restaurants. It's better than nothing. And it's definitely better than just letting all that food go to waste simply because they can't like cook it and sell it. They might as well sell it directly. Though the stupid city is about to make it harder for restaurants to do that. They're shutting down a bunch of restaurants one by one that are selling their produce directly to people because technically they don't have grocery store licenses.
Oh my god.
Even though they have all of the stuff to safely handle food or whatever. So I don't know. I was planning on getting in my local council members' face about it when they do the meeting for my area, which they've been doing online. So it's really easy to attend those and complain in the chat. But yeah, are y'all doing all right out there?
Yeah.
You all ready for AP tests?
Kind of. I just want to know when the early date is.
Yeah, same, dog, same. It'll be up by the end of the week, and then once it's up, I will update the OWS up to the early AP date accordingly, so I can break up when we'll be doing review, when I'm going to ask y'all to take like the practice AP test or whatever, all that stuff. But up until I have that crucial piece of data, I can't do any of that planning. And then afterwards, like I said, we'll do the lessons that we would have missed. And I just like talking about physics. Like I'm always saying, like if the world were to end, but I was still alive, I would absolutely be at the public park shirtless, teaching physics and being like, hey, I'll give you a handful of these green beans if you listen to me talk about this pendulum here. So anyway, after the AP test, we will still cover the topics that should have been on there because, once y'all go to college next year, you still need to know that stuff. And then I'm also going to do a coffee lesson. I'll like turn my document camera here. I'll take it downstairs, or I'll bring all my coffee junk up, and we'll do live like how to brew coffee stuff. So that y'all, you know, have the minimum job skills to be a barista. And past that, I don't know, I'll just teach whatever you guys want me to teach, I guess. Got nothing better to do.
Mr. Rob, did your new camera come in yet or no?
No, dog, it looks like that thing's not even gonna come in until like the last week of April.
Oh,
If I was smart, I would have ordered it like right after the marathon, because by then I kind of had the idea that the world was headed towards a shutdown. But yeah, it's just, sorry, what's up?
everything's taking super long to deliver now.
Yeah, because people don't want to go to the grocery store, so instead they're overwhelming Amazon.
Yeah.
So like for stuff that you need, I just like put the orders in and I'm just like waiting for it. It took like a week and a half to get Tide Pods to do laundry.
Oh,
But also that didn't even matter, because like I said a couple weeks ago, if you go east, like the further east you, like, okay, I live by downtown, yo, the Target over here is a mess. It is always empty and it's usually too busy. So instead I just like went out to the Target on Colorado Boulevard, the one down past the Anawalt Lumber. You know the one I'm talking about? It's kind of out towards nowhere.
Not really.
Like
Not
there are two Targets on Colorado Boulevard, and I'm not talking about the one in the middle of Colorado Boulevard that's across the street from the Thai restaurant.
Yeah.
If you go hella far down Colorado, like you just keep driving down Colorado like you're just cruising, you pass Anawalt Lumber, it's like way past Rosemead Boulevard even. And then there's another Target out there, and there's nothing really past that. Like past that, you start to get to empty lots. That Target was fine. That Target had like all of the junk that I ordered on Amazon.
oh.
There's 3 Targets on Colorado?
Yeah, dog, there's so many Targets.
Isn't there one on the corner of Madre and like a little bit down? Is that the one you're talking about?
I'm just gonna pull it up on Google Maps. I think it'll be easier.
Isn't it like the one right next to Smart and Final?
Yeah, that's the one. It's next to a Smart and Final. That's what's up. So let me share Google Maps about where to go forage for supplies. So this Target right here, wait, does my mouse cursor show up?
Yeah.
Sometimes my mouse cursor shows up, sometimes it doesn't when I share screen, which is why I always ask. I'm sorry if it's annoying. This is the Target, like the main one in Pasadena, the one that's like across the street from that really good Thai restaurant. This ain't the one I'm talking about. I went there and they were like, okay, they were restocked like 7 out of 10. Nah, these guys way out here, they know what's up. They're restocked like 9 out of 10 and pretty empty. Also, I like how I'm like, oh, there's nothing out there. But no. Like the city goes on for another like 2 hours worth of driving before it ends. What I mean by there's nothing out there is it's like comparatively quiet compared to like middle Pasadena. But yeah, this spot right here, pretty quiet, man, pretty quiet. And it's just past the Anawalt Lumber, or sorry, Gonal Lumber, wrong lumber yard. Yeah, this one. If there's like stuff that you can't find that's been out of stock, I'd recommend checking that out. Have y'all had any issues like locating goods?
Not really.
Really?
Okay.
Clorox.
Yeah, so like that Target I just hollered out, they got everything, man. They had everything. Like they had baby wipes, which have been sold out a bunch of places. They had Clorox wipes. Yeah, they even had hand sanitizer. Not the mini bottles, but they had like the big refillable bottles. Oh, also on the topic of that hand sanitizer shortage, man, the local brewery near my house, they make beer, right? They posted a thing on their Facebook the other day where they were like, hey, everybody, we're scaling back beer production because they're switching over two of their distillery setups to, instead of making alcohol for human consumption, making the kind of alcohol used in hand sanitizers. A bunch of the breweries and distilleries in LA are switching their equipment over so that they can provide hospitals with sanitation gear in the coming months, because even like without that, we will probably run out. With that, we will probably run out. It's just that we will run out at a later date.
Mr. Robinson,
Yeah.
do you think we'll like start college later, or we'll start like on time but on Zoom?
So if you watch that video that I posted, we're literally too early in the exponential growth trend to make any strong statements about when this is going to end. The only people who can do that are China, assuming that their data that they're providing to the world is accurate, and South Korea, who is easier to verify just because they're like less opaque. So those are the only two governments that can make any sort of statements about when things will begin getting back to normal. Literally nobody has the information to authoritatively answer your question. Like as a scientist, that's always the most important disclaimer to give first. I believe that if you are in a normal undergraduate type program, like all of you are headed into, that those will probably be starting on time on Zoom if physical campuses can't open. Because as an educator and somebody who's also like, this is gonna sound dumb, but all of my professors know I'm a teacher, and all of my professors at Cal State LA are focused primarily on research. And once they've heard that there are people in their classes who are teachers, oddly enough, even though they're my teacher, they have asked me questions about teaching. Like one of my professors, I'm the one who showed him and taught him how to use Zoom before he had to do this in front of like his own class. So I've also been chatting with them about what the campus is doing to get ready for next year. And it seems like if they can't open, they're going to modify every single course and get them ready to go online. But it's people who are in specialized programs that will be forced to delay. So if you're a PhD, for example, and most of your program would be doing research in the laboratory, you can't do that online. You just have to delay it. Same with people heading towards like art programs. For the most part, unless you're doing like specifically digital art, that is not a thing that you can do from home unless you're purchasing all your own equipment and doing the instruction online. For the most part, if you're headed into a bachelor's of science or a bachelor's of arts, I think those will start on time. If you're headed towards one of the more exotic bachelor's degrees, there may be delays.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, or in some extreme cases, man, they're just letting people graduate early. Have y'all seen any of that stuff?
No.
No.
Everybody at the USC Med School who was going to be graduating this semester, instead of graduating this semester the normal way by finishing your classes, they're just letting people with a high enough GPA start because they're in desperate need of additional doctors.
Is that legal?
Whatever is legal is whatever we say is legal, like as a society, and there are plenty of things that are illegal that are made legal by the fact that we just don't prosecute them.
Oh, okay.
So if the people who are in charge are the ones making this change, it doesn't matter whether or not it's legal or who cares. It is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think one of the earliest lessons you learn as an adult is legality doesn't matter. There are two kinds of like rule sets that exist. There's de jure and de facto. So de jure just is like, is it actually on the books? And de facto is this thing actually enforced? Only that second part really matters, which makes it even harder to learn about laws than you think. Because you could study the laws on the books, that'll only give you like 1/2 or 1/3 of the story. What actually matters is how that stuff gets applied out in the real world. And much like a crappy BuzzFeed article, the answer may surprise you. Oh, also one other random thing. My wife's MacBook is acting weird, so I've been doing a bunch of research on how to like tear down and upgrade and rebuild a MacBook. Just because I'm bored at home, and that's a thing that I like doing anyway. Because I recently tore down and rebuilt a Game Boy Advance SP for one of the students, just because it wasn't working right. I'm gonna probably do the whole tear down and rebuild here on my document camera and then post it to YouTube. So if you've ever wanted to like dig into your MacBook and change something out, I'll be doing a tutorial on how to do that in case, I mean, we're all hurting for content these days, right?
Yes.
I'm like so caught up on all my podcasts and I like listen to all my audiobooks. Yo, I got nothing.
What about Netflix?
I mean, I just don't like watching TV.
Okay.
Like my wife, she just finished binging all of Ozark in like 2 days. Which looked pretty good, and like I don't know, we've also been watching The Americans, which is a drama about Russian spies infiltrating the U.S. in the 1980s, and those are fine. I just can't stare at it that long.
No.
I've mostly been playing Game Boy games, but I like to listen to podcasts or put on like a crappy YouTube video I can ignore while I play games, and I'm even out of podcasts and crappy YouTube videos, man.
You should watch Tiger King.
You know what? That is next on my list only because my sister sold me on it.
So fun.
Yeah. And since we're all stuck at home, it's the perfect time to experiment with terrible haircuts. So
There you go.
after she texted me one screen cap from it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this just for that haircut.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
How long did it take you to do the Mac thing? Like,
Oh, I just ordered the parts.
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So they'll be in like probably next Wednesday, just because all shipping is slow right now. But once they're all in, I'll do it on. I'll make a YouTube video of it. She has an older MacBook. I think it's a 2014. It's the last one with the HDMI port in it, where you don't have to use an adapter. Which is why she would rather have me like fix it up than buy a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So the upgrades that I'm doing are I'm going to put in a new and bigger battery because it only has 1 hour battery life. I'm going to replace the 500 gigabyte hard drive with a 1 terabyte solid state drive. So it should double her memory, and also it'll be able to load faster, because if y'all don't know, solid state drives load way faster than physical hard drives with a spinning plate. I'm also going to upgrade the RAM from 16 gigs to 32 gigs. And then the last thing that I'm doing isn't an upgrade, it's a repair. I don't know why, but both of the speakers on her laptop are blown. Yeah, they sound like a piece of plastic slapping against an aluminum can instead of sounding like actual speakers. So I'll also be removing and replacing the left speaker and the right speaker. And the website that I ordered it from said that it should not just be a straight up replacement, but an upgrade. Like they're aftermarket speakers that are made to sound better than the original speakers. I don't know, it's 25 bucks from China, so that's probably fake news, but we'll find out together. But yeah, if I end up putting up a video, like if you subscribe to the class YouTube and you're like, why is there a video going up over spring break? It's probably that, or I also got requests from the freshmen about cooking. Of like, I'll drag my document camera downstairs to the kitchen and be like, hey, bread is hard to make. Here's how to make fresh bread.
Cooking with raw.
They asked for bread specifically, or?
That was the question they asked. They were like, hey, do you know how to make bread? Like I looked at the recipe and I didn't understand it. And I was like, yeast is complicated, I guess. We could do cooking.
That's so easy.
Yeah, weird times, man. Weird times. I'm actually really disappointed that like they shortened the AP. I mean, you should all be stoked. They shortened the AP test stuff. I am bummed because I was excited to like have something to do, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have to teach anymore." I'm like, "No, that's bad. That's bad. I'd rather teach. It's better for the mental health." Also, any of y'all figure out a good way to exercise indoors effectively?
Just
have a little
watching
mini
YouTube.
gym.
I've been walking with my parents, so there's that.
You maintaining that 2 meter minimum radius?
Not really.
I mean, you should. I think people have been really annoying about it, but I've been taking the opportunity to like really practice my lateral motion while running, because I've been like running in the street since there's basically no cars, running on the grass to avoid piles of humans. Alex, were you talking about a home gym? You got something going on at home?
Yeah, I have a little like office, and my dad uses that, so I use that now.
Tight. Have you checked out Nike Training Club?
Wait, what's that?
It's an app that I recommend you all install. It's a Nike app, NTC. It's like a big yellow icon, and it does like a CrossFit playlist for you. So like a big problem that a lot of people have with their workouts, and this is something I used to be very guilty of. Your exercises are so narrow that you only work the same muscle group again and again and again, and this causes you to overwork some groups, ignore other groups. And like with running, if you only run, you actually end up being a really crappy runner. So part of your running training should also be like squats, yoga, a bunch of core workouts, a bunch of upper body workouts, because you might not notice it, but you do use all of your muscles when you run, stuff like that. Nike Training Club just like manages how much you are working out each body group, and also helps you diversify your workouts with different themes, different workouts on different days. It's good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, instead of working out, you can let your phone boss you around.
Ooh.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Anyway, we'll do the same thing tomorrow. We'll mostly just hang out. I won't talk about the outbreak tomorrow because there might not. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to curse myself. I don't want to say that there won't be anything new to talk about tomorrow, because that seems like a way to like really piss off the fates and get some major headlines going. Tomorrow we're going to come in and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go straight to the multiple choice. And also, if you have any questions about the lab, if you didn't do it over the weekend, do more of it today, and then we can talk about it tomorrow. And all of that is to get ready for the chapter test on Wednesday. Y'all have a nice day, and if anything comes up, shoot me an email.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Peace,
Bye.
y'all.
Thank you.